From the Gulf States Newsroom, this is the Gulf States Gumbo, your weekly serving of stories from Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. I'm managing editor Ryan Vasquez, chopping it up this week. It's been nearly a month since a massive winter storm devastated parts of the South. In the week since, recovery has been slow in some areas. Many are still without power and in need of help. Community engagement reporter Elise Gregg has been keeping up with folks in northern Mississippi, one of the places hardest hit by ice and power outages. Thanks for joining us, Elise.
Hey there, thanks for having me.
So let me ask you first, what were those first few days of keeping up with those northern counties like?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, it was originally a lot of piecemeal information, a couple things here and there from talking to emergency management officials or, seeing updates from local leaders online. And I ended up reaching out to just individual people in Lafayette County because I hadn't been able to get through to their emergency management agency in the first week or so after the storm. And while talking with a few folks I knew at the University of Mississippi, they told me that I really needed to talk to Betsy Chapman.
Who I am under normal circumstances is a farmer's market director.
And she's actually how I was able to check in with a lot of people in Oxford and nearby communities over the last few weeks.
Gotcha. So how did she exactly connect you to people?
So Chapman runs the Oxford Community Market, and they're a food access nonprofit that hosts farmers markets every week to help folks get access to fresh local food. And she told me after the storm hit that she was really worried about her community and figured other local nonprofit leaders would be as well.
I just knew that the people I usually work with in the community were probably thinking the same thing. They were probably sitting there wondering, I'm okay right now. What are we going to do to help?
So she and some other folks sent out a message to try to coordinate resources to meet just the staggering need in Lafayette County and in Oxford.
All of our community partners, all of our churches, we invited everybody, please join us and let's put our heads together. And we called ourselves the second responders.
And so she and all these second responders have been working with folks in the community, and that's how I was able to talk to both volunteers and then, those folks affected who have been able to benefit from what those second responders are doing.
So second responders, I'm guessing they're working with the first responders and other government agencies?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. Chapman told me that second responders work with local government and coordinate with bigger charities, like Convoy of Hope, for example. It's a really eclectic mix of helpers in some ways.
We are simply many organizations and churches, community groups, like from the garden club ladies to the fire department, the sheriff's department. A few of our elected officials have been boots on the ground. Student organizations, civic groups, all doing a piece of this.
So what exactly have all these different groups in Lafayette County been doing?
To be honest with you, a little bit of everything. They've given out thousands of hot meals and handed out food packs and clothing and hygiene items, just kind of the whole gambit of things that you might need after a storm.
Wow, that's a lot to take on for just a collection of local nonprofits.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, they have partnered with bigger organizations. For example, about 10,000 or 11,000 of the 15,000 meals they recently handed out were from Chick-fil-A and Convoy of Hope. But some of those meals were also from a local church, and many donations that they've received have just been from other community members. And the second responders have been responsible for a lot of the coordination of all these big donations and forms of assistance.
So how has the community responded to these organizations coming together? It sounds like they've had a huge impact on Oxford and Lafayette County.
I honestly think that Chapman said it best.
People wept because this was the first time someone got out to them. And that's not the fault of anyone. It's just that the need is so big, and we just happened to get there. People cried when we showed up. For me personally, one of the things that's meant a lot is I've lived in Oxford for 20 years. I know more about the county now than I ever have.
Both volunteers and people in the community emphasize that agencies like FEMA and MEMA, which is Mississippi's Emergency Management Agency, they thought that those agencies were doing their best, along with local government and emergency management. And it was kind of initially painted as like a team effort, volunteers responding to the immediate needs that government agencies really couldn't in Oxford and Lafayette. And one of the second responders and one of the people who initially helped coordinate that group effort, Laura Martin, she also pointed out to me that a lot of the work was uniquely possible because of what local organizations had already been doing to help their community, before this storm.
Once the disaster declarations have an end date, we are going to, see the withdrawal of these international and national relief agencies. We're going to see the withdrawal of state and federal resources, and the folks on the ground, the ones who are here, who have always been here, are the ones who are going to continue picking up the pieces.
And I will add that some of that changed over the course of a week. When I went up to Oxford, most people I spoke with were still really grateful for the community responses and didn't have a lot to say about government efforts. But volunteers I talked with were a little more open. Chapman told me that while she's thrilled with the community work, she doesn't want that to overshadow the devastation in the area. And one second responder, Eddie Dingus, also shared her thoughts with me.
I feel, and I don't think I'm alone in feeling, that state leadership really failed North Mississippi and the Delta and folks that were incredibly hit by Winter Storm Fern. But what that gave rise to, I think, is an opportunity for communities to step in and hold one another and support one another through this effort.
And this is all after a lot of initial questions that we talked about last time, too. Things like whether Mississippi should have deployed the National Guard sooner or even positioned Guard members before the storm hit. And, of course, whether or not Mississippi has done enough to proactively prepare for these kinds of natural disasters so that relief is more than just reactive responses.
And you haven't just been getting these phone calls and other things like that. You actually went up to Oxford, right?
Yeah, so I actually went up to Oxford to join the second responders as they checked in on folks. And one of the things that they've been doing is donation deliveries to people out in the county who are farther away from Oxford and maybe can't make it into town for things. And initially, they were delivering food and other resources straight to people when power was still out and many folks couldn't leave their homes. With roads clearing and the ice melting, they've stepped back to bringing things to local churches, who can then get those items out to their communities. And it's a lifeline for a lot of folks in more rural areas, and I got to tag along with the second responders as they made some of those deliveries.
So what did you see while you were out there?
Yeah, there's definitely a noticeable difference between the city and the county. In Oxford, you can see piles of branches in front of some homes and repairs going on. But for the most part, roads are all clear and stores and restaurants are open. Ole Miss has started back up and things seem mostly back to normal. Fortunately in the county, a lot is also cleared up, but the damage is definitely still evident. There's, trees still snapped, limbs hanging around. On some roads, there are just these unbroken stretches where you've got piles of limbs and debris on the shoulder. And I saw a couple spots here and there where there was still some visible damage, trees on roofs or linemen working. But overall, it's a lot less dire than those initial images coming out of the north. Definitely still going to take a lot of time to get back to normal.
And how are the folks out in the county actually doing?
To be honest with you, they all seem pretty resilient. Most of them told me they were doing just fine. Just down the road from the second responders' first stop on their delivery route are the Certains, Sharon and WC. And they did not really let the storm stop them for long.
We doing fine. I went to work when time for me to go to work.
There you go.
Never did stop.
I didn't come out the door because all this was ice, so I stayed in.
Oh my gosh. How long was it iced over for y'all?
You had to bust it up.
I had to bust it
wasn't
up.
melting.
It wasn't melting at all. That was ice.
And they were in Lafayette County for the 1994 storm as well.
We learned some stuff from the last ice storm, so.
Oh, were you here for the 94 one?
Oh, yes.
Here, right here.
Right here.
How did it stack up?
Ooh,
It was rough.
it was rough. It wasn't, I think this one
It's more damage this time than it was the last time.
Yeah.
They said they were without power for about a week, but that they fortunately only had trees down around their yard. Nothing like their neighbor across the street whose shed roof was slammed into by falling limbs. A lot of folks out in the county said that much of the relief came from family, friends, neighbors, all helping one another out. And the Certains jumped right in on that too. Actually, WC ended up with a few stitches from that.
Went tile for branch on a tractor and bent down too low and hit the side of the tractor left. I 8 stitches.
Oh, he'll be all right.
Within 7 days, take them out. Okay. I ain't had no pains or nothing like that.
Oh, wow. I mean, it definitely makes sense. A lot of people, they're a little more tougher out there in the counties. They'll be all right.
For sure, yeah. He seemed like he's going to make it through. About 12 miles away are Sammy and Lisa Alfarelli. Their yard is tree-free, but they live behind Lisa's 84-year-old mother, who had limbs down all across her yard and one tree even uprooted by the storm.
This is what she woke up to. She kind of suffered a lot more damage than maybe some other folks.
And they're still waiting to get some of their limbs and trees cleared. And in the immediate days after the storm hit, Lisa saw ice just like lingering in their yard, freezing the pond by their house.
When the sun came up and you could just see the ice glistening on the limbs, I don't even know, it almost looked like Elsa had come along and frozen. Right. Seriously, that's how it looked. Everything was frozen. It was just amazing. And, of course, we immediately start looking to see, at my mom's house here, what trees had fallen and all of that. And it just, and then when you looked at the limbs, you saw just how thick the ice was. Right. And then I remember standing on my porch or looking out the window from my porch, and it was just, you could see the limbs just falling.
And they said it'll probably be a long time before Lafayette County is back to normal. But like so many other people, they said it's been community support that's helped them get this far in recovery.
No, that's great to hear, Elise. It's typically, though, what ends up happening is community step up in this, and it's good to hear that that's happening up in that way as well. Before we wrap up, it's time for the Gulf Stage Gem, where we highlight a gem from the region. Elise, I know you were, up there for more serious reasons, and it was definitely a serious event, but do you have anything that's a little bit lighter or, a nice gem you want to highlight for this episode?
Yeah, honestly, it's got to be the second responders. The way they came together so quickly and efficiently to help people was pretty amazing. And they've just got so many people invested in their work. While I was up there, volunteers packing things included everyone from nonprofit leaders to locals to just students helping out in their free time. Everyone really pitches in when there's a need. And I remember the morning I went, before it got really busy, Chapman was trying to coordinate with people and was a little bit anxious because they were out of fruit and bread.
So, no fruit this morning. You got fruit now?
We got fruit. And we had no baked goods, and a Kroger load came.
Oh my goodness. Is it like this, every day when you do this?
It has been. Wow. Yeah, it's just coming and coming and coming. And I was always worried. And then the Love Packs and More Than a Meal ladies were like, it's going to come. Don't worry.
Okay. I mean, she was running it like the Navy in there. People were getting stuff done, and you see the impact on their community.
No, absolutely. It's a lot for these folks to do. Is there any way for people who want to contribute to their efforts, even if they're not in northern Mississippi?
Yeah, so I asked Betsy if there's a way to donate, and because second responders are a bunch of groups collaborating, there's not really one centralized way to give to the whole effort. But those two groups that she just mentioned, More Than a Meal and Love Packs, are two of the organizations she says have been their main support for grocery and food needs. More Than a Meal provides weekly hot meals, along with other community services like tutoring, and Love Packs provides food packs for kids in need on the weekends and holidays. And these two have come together to be part of the larger ongoing work of the second responders in Oxford and Lafayette County. And you can find them online and donate through their websites.
Thanks for that, Elise, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
This week's show is cooked up by the Gulf States Newsroom team. Our theme music is by DJ Supreme. Special thanks to our partner stations, WBHM, Mississippi Public Broadcasting, WWNO, and WRKF. You can find us in your podcast feeds every Friday. Look us up and be sure to subscribe. Again, I'm your host, Ryan Vasquez. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to stir your brew.